Hey, 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 what is up, everybody? Happy Monday, Happy New Year. All right, let me knock down this music a little bit. Hope you guys are doing well. It's good to see you. Welcome, welcome. And yeah, let's see. I don't know. I forget what level the music's supposed to be at. That's probably fine for background music. Hopefully that's working for you guys. Feeling a little under the weather today, but not enough to cancel the stream. So, got a pot of tea going right now. I've been drinking tea all day. Got a little ice water too. Good stuff. Brain fuel. And we're going to be jumping right in. I did a little prep already today, just poking around in the text. And yeah, to me, the most interesting verse is verse 51. John chapter 1, verses 43 to 51. And verse 51 says, "Truly, truly, I say to you, you will see heaven open and the angels of God ascending and descending on the Son of Man." Jesus obviously referring to himself, and vast majority of commentators, I haven't found anyone who thinks different, believe this is a reference to Jacob's ladder, which to me that's fascinating. But I got a whole list of things that I thought was interesting in the text. And yeah, there's a lot of good stuff here, so should have no shortage of content. What's up, Ping? Good to see you. Welcome, welcome. Hope you're doing well. Happy New Year. How are you? Do you have a New Year's resolution? Do you have a New Year's resolution? Somebody asked me that on Sunday. I had to think about it because I didn't really have one. But I do have now 2 New Year's goals. You do themes. I think you were telling me about that before. Maybe not, but I thought I heard that before, where it's like certain broad principles or ideas of discipline. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I like that idea. Anyway, we are rolling through, and let's just hit up the passage guide. Kind of wondering how in depth I want to go with some of these things, because I haven't decided yet. GCP Gray did a video on it. I don't know if I know them. That's pretty cool, though. Yeah, great. Very cool. Well, definitely tell me how that works out for you. What's up, Deep Dive? Good to see you. Happy New Year, Deep Dive. Yes, welcome, welcome. Are you doing well? I hope you are. It's good to see you. Do you have any New Year's resolutions or themes, Deep Dive? Very interesting to know. I want to read more, and specifically I want to read some harder books. I read a good amount this last year, but some of my books were a little easier. I can lean into trashy fiction, if you will, at times. So, want to beef up my reading. I read plenty of good stuff too this year, but not all of it, is I guess what I'm getting at. So, anyway, we'll see. The point is to start off vague and to see where you go from there. That's pretty cool, Ping. Nice. I like it. Pick a direction and go. Yeah, very good. Very good. Ooh, I want to drink this tea, but I'm going to wait for it a little bit longer. I'm doing a green tea. It's a, it's a popular scent they use in tea. What is it called? It's a flower. A white little flower. I forget. Oh, jasmine. Jasmine. I'm doing a jasmine green tea. So, yeah, should be good. Also, I looked up that one book. Man, it's expensive. Which one? Which one, Ping? I bought an expensive book on Black Friday. A really expensive one. What's up, Masterwood? Good to see you. Happy New Year. Welcome, welcome. I'll probably just get it if I ever become better at reading the original languages. The Hebrew and Greek one. Oh, I got you. Yep. I know exactly what you're talking about. Yep, that one's on my shelf. And whenever I'm reading in the original languages, I think it's a perfect one for that. But yeah, you're right. That one is not cheap. Perfect, though, if you want to read in both Greek and Hebrew in devotionals. Yeah, very nice. Okay, well, we got passage guide going. I haven't referenced the ZECNT, Edward Klink, in this sermon series yet. So let's just start. Let's see. He's got all the Greek here. The designation on the next day begins a new section. It is now the 4th day of Jesus' ministry. See comments before 2:1. The previous scene had depicted Jesus securing disciples by means of the Baptist witness. Jesus was the passive recipient. In this scene, Jesus takes the initiative. Okay. That's pretty interesting. CECNT. Edward Klink. Did not know him. I did get the NET full translation notes. NET is great. Really like the NET notes. In terms of study Bible notes, they're entirely unique. Entirely unique relative to other, other offerings. All right, let's see. Sorry, I'm just trying to make sure I got all my stuff here. What's up, Burra Lee? How are you? I outcast you? What do you mean? I didn't outcast anyone. Good to see you. I hope you're doing well. Happy New Year, Burra. Hope you're doing well. All right, let's go ahead and check this out. This disciple, Philip, is the only disciple said in the gospel to have been called by Jesus. It is grammatically possible that Andrew is the subject and therefore the one who leads Philip to Jesus. However, it is strongly unlikely since Jesus is the subject of the preceding sentence and because it is difficult to imagine the evangelist ever referring to the travel plans of a disciple. In the fourth gospel, it is Jesus that the narrative follows, not the disciple. Some commentators favor Andrew as a subject so that all who will come to Jesus in this chapter do so because of someone else's witness. The theological value, then, is that the theme of the importance of bearing witness is made emphatic by the evangelist. That's interesting. I don't know if it's true, but it's interesting. I can see others chat like a private chat. I don't know what that means, Burra. I can see your chat. I can see others chat like a private chat. Oh, you mean on the screen? That's because we're over here on Twitch. We're over here talking on Twitch. If you go to twitch.tv/Pastor Channer, you can come hang out with us on Twitch. Yeah, you're good, Burra. It's because everybody else, all the chat you see on the other screen is from Twitch. Yeah, I got you. Alrighty. We're continuing. I'm multi-streaming, Burra. I'm multi-streaming to several platforms at once. So you're on YouTube, and then the people I'm interacting with in chat that you see on screen are on Twitch. Twitch's rules are that I can't integrate the chat. I have to show Twitch chat only. It's not your settings, Burra. You just have to go to Twitch and watch us there. Alrighty. There you go, Ping. Hi, YouTube. That's awesome. Okay, continuing. I hadn't heard of this. This is interesting. So the idea is that Andrew is the subject because if you look, it just says he in Greek. Right here. The next day. Air horn, but what? Whoa.
Random Luck 83 just resubbed for 11 months.
What is this nonsense, yo? What? What is happening? Happy New Year. Air horn, holy smokes.
Aristotle Online just resubbed for 2 months.
I don't know what's happening. Hello, Cup. Thank you. Wow. Thank you for all the gifted. That's amazing. Air horn, but Happy New Year.
Fendrel_RL just resubbed for 3 months.
All right. Hey, take care, Burra. We'll see ya. Take it easy, huh? Air horn, but wow. Thank you so much, Cup. Appreciate you.
Cause just resubbed for 1 month.
Very thoughtful. Very thoughtful. Yeah, there's a lot of air horn button in there. Vector says that's his best work. Because I randomly said it in a air horn, but
Matthew USA just resubbed for 23 months.
I randomly said it in a stream, and then Vector turned it into a whatever that's called. Air horn, but
Young X Topo just resubbed for 1 month.
That's really funny. Thank you so much. Appreciate all the love and support, Cup. That's awesome. Hope you're having a great day. Happy New Year. Good to see you. Thank you so much for that love and support. Fantastic. All right, guys. I think that means we should pour our tea. Our cup of It's like I said, it's a green tea, but it's jasmine green tea. And I've steeped it probably nearly 10 times today. Maybe not that many, but a lot. So it should be relatively mild, not very bitter at this point. All right.
Jesus said, I am
come
the
on.
way and the truth
Cut.
and the life. No one comes to the Father but through me. And he is calling out to you today.
A cup of coffee just subscribed.
Thank you, Cup. Man, it's been a while since we hear the Steve Lawson, right? Because that's always for new subs. It's always for new subs, not resubs. So thank you so much, Cup. Appreciate you. Thank you for all that love and support. You're awesome. Hope you enjoy the channel, the stream. Let me know if there's anything I can do for you. If you have any questions, theology, logos, stuff like that. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, let's go now. Yeah, so what I wanted to do to see here is where it says Jesus here. The next day, Jesus. I think he's implying that it just says he. Or maybe afterwards. Because I don't know. I see Jesus right here. Let's see. Oh, it's this one. No, it is this one right here. So yes, they moved Jesus up to here. No, notice that Jesus is nowhere near this phrase. The next day decided to go to Galilee. Okay. And it's just implied. It's he, right? It's a third person singular. So the next day he decided to go to Galilee. And you can see in ESV, they take the Jesus down here and move it up and say, oh, it's Jesus that decided to go to Galilee. But of course, there are two potential, masculine singular nouns here. Could be Philip. So the question is it the next day Philip decided to go to Galilee or the next day Jesus decided to go to Galilee? That's what he's pointing out. He's saying there's a difference in interpretation at this point, how it should be translated. Oh, Cup, I'm Deep Dive Discipleship on YouTube. Been meaning to sub on Twitch, but kept forgetting. I got you. Well, thank you, Deep Dive. Appreciate you. Guys, Deep Dive ran all the way over here from YouTube just to come on here and gift a bunch of subs and sub themselves. Thank you so much, Deep Dive. I appreciate you. That's so funny. That's awesome. Awesome, awesome. Matthew, what is up? Good to see you. Burra, I have it and I love it. Speaking of WBC 61 volume series on Logos. Matthew, those are some of the best, very critical exegetical commentaries. They go in depth, oftentimes on the original languages. If you want to dig deep, you can do a lot worse than WBC. Let's see what WBC has to say about our passage here in John, right here. So you can see here, and one of the things about the WBC is how it breaks down. They have like an exegetical section and then a commentary section in each book usually, right? So I'm pretty fond of the WBC. I have a lot of commentaries, and that's one, I still try to consult regularly because it's just up there. Let's see. I'm trying to find, yeah, you can see comment. So they have these larger sections. Introduction, they do translation and then translation notes, form and structure, and then comments. And then after all of the comments on the text, they do their own explanation. Okay, here's the explanation. It's kind of broader, more narratival. So yeah, it's a pretty good set. Pretty good set. Jess says, Pastor Tanner, your tea is greater than my tea. Guys, upstairs I brewed like a cinnamon black tea. Evidently Jess is not a fan. And then I'm down here drinking jasmine green. She's jealous. That's pretty funny. PT party. That's good too. Very good. Awesome. It's great for a person who understands Hebrew and Greek. Yeah, I understand what you mean there. Okay, pretzel's popping off. We need to skip this. Whoa. That was way too high energy for me. Way too high energy. Yeah, I could see that one, Burra. A little more accessible for the original languages. Ping says, Tanner, I told my pastor about your Logos debt. He agreed that it could get really expensive quickly, but it's a good investment. Now I'm concerned about his finances. Because he did the same thing as me. There you go, Ping. Yeah, maybe you should be concerned. Oh, man. I love it. That was honestly my thinking, though, Ping, is I thought, I started buying when I was in seminary. I thought to myself, I'm going to be investing a lot up front, but this Logos library will pay dividends throughout the entirety of my life as I go into ministry. So I was thinking, man, it's a good investment. It's expensive, yes, but I am going to use this for decades to come. That was my logic. I may have been rationalizing, but it was my logic. Hasagi, what is up? Yes, go ahead and ask. Pastor Tanner, I have a question. If you don't mind answering, I will do my best. Will do my best. That's so funny, Ping. Look, good to know I'm not the only pastor who has been duped into investing their entire life savings into Logos. Okay. Good investment, though. Good investment. Oh, Master Wood, I spent quite a bit on Logos in December. It's easy to do, my man. Easy to do. Yep. I know that one. That's funny. Okay. We'll come back to WBC. I want to finish in the ZECNT here. And so he says, look, it's probably Jesus he's talking about here. It's probably not. Probably not talking about Philip in terms of he desired to leave. Right? So he didn't confirm it, but the way he phrased it and didn't act surprised when I said you had tens of thousands of books. That's awesome, Ping. All right, Hasagi. So with my faith being with God, I want to know what is allowed to listen to, since my music taste is wild because I enjoy a lot of different genres. I wonder if it is a sin to listen to songs like Murder on My Mind or something in the rap genre. Yeah, it's a good question, Hasagi. Here, let's go to the big screen. I'll drink tea and chat with you. So it's a good question. And, you know, one of the important things to notice about these things. What are you doing, buddy? Yeah, but what are you doing? Oh, does mommy know you're down here? Guys, my son came in. I would maybe have put him on screen, but I don't know. What do you guys think about that? Putting a child who doesn't understand the internet, doesn't understand what they're doing. What do you think about putting them on screen? I've seen other streamers do it before. Like, oh, here's my daughter or my son. But I don't know about that. So it's pretty funny. Anyway, sorry, I'm distracted. All right. So one of the things to understand about music taste and genre, probably not, to be honest, too many weirdos out there. What is up? Truth. Been a minute. Longer than a minute. Been quite a few years. How are you? Good to see you. Welcome, welcome. Yeah, I hope you're doing well. Fantastic. How's life, man? So one of the things when it comes to like music and, you know, entertainment preferences, things like this, you could also ask the same question, Hasagi, about watching a movie, right? And what sorts of content is appropriate for a movie. And there's a few principles here, and I can read you some verses here in a second, but one of them is to follow your conscience. Okay. Paul says, whether or not something is sin or not sin, if something goes against your conscience, it's sin for you. Okay. So if something is bothering your conscience, that's probably the Holy Spirit telling you to check yourself. Right. So
I don't know why you're clapping. I'm talking.
Oh, thank you for the follow. Appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. So if something's bothering your conscience, I would tell you to follow your conscience and try to eliminate those things and not lean into entertainment choices that are going to bother your conscience, right? Now, let's say your conscience isn't bothered, but maybe you have some Christians telling you this is sin, and then you have other Christians telling you this isn't sin, don't worry about it. Well, at that point, the Bible talks about doing what is profitable or expedient, right? And the question is, do these forms of entertainment, be it the music or movies or whatever, do they improve your walk with God, or do they detract from it in any way, shape, or form? So it may not be sin itself, but if it's not improving your walk with God, then is it valuable, or should you be investing some of your time, effort, energy, mind in these things? And I could go either way on that, because I have had some situations where, because I knew
Your life is
come on.
not in your hands. Your life is in the hands of
Yes.
God.
Thank you.
Violent Midget 300 just resubbed for 25 months.
25. That's crazy. 25. Thank you so much, Violent. Appreciate you. Appreciate you very much. Yeah, awesome. So then that's the next question. Is it detracting from your walk in any way, shape, or form? And I have had situations where I knew of an artist or of a show series or movie and was able to interact with an unbeliever because it was one of their favorite series, for example. And so in that sense, being knowledgeable about the culture can be profitable. But I don't think all of us are called to that, okay? So this is definitely one of those areas where I think you got to follow your conscience and ask yourself, what is good for my walk with Jesus? Here's a good principle I want you to keep in mind, okay? A lot of people, as Christians, when they're considering what God would have them to do or allow them to do, etc., a lot of people are asking roughly this question: where's the line, and how can I get as close as possible to the line without tripping over it, right? The idea being, look, I know there's a line somewhere that God doesn't want me to cross, but I can play all on this side of the line, right? I'm fine. And I think that's essentially the wrong question, and betrays the idea that sometimes we view our Christian faith as sucking all of the fun and joy out of life, and that in reality, we still want to do other things. And I would suggest instead that we're not asking ourselves, where's the line and how can I get as close to it as possible without falling over? Instead, I'd like a fundamental mindset or worldview shift for most Christians into something like, how can I follow God most with my life, right? And I think a mature believer who is asking the question, how can I follow God most with my life, will come to different conclusions about this, okay? I think a lot of it depends on your maturity as well. I would not recommend younger or immature believers to dabble as much with the world as I would allow mature Christians who have been walking in the faith for a long time to. So these are all of my thoughts about it. You got to seek it out prayerfully. And I will say this, I personally do listen to secular music myself. Okay? So I would be hypocritical if I was telling you don't ever do it. But I think there are a lot of things you need to consider before you're going to be willing to do that, okay? That said, I don't watch hardly any movies or TV shows, like none. I just don't have time. But I do listen to secular music myself. So, yeah, great question. Great question. Burra makes a comment just about purchasing in Logos because of Masterwood's comment that they purchased a lot in December. Burra says, if you decide to buy, call a sales rep for the best price. Do not buy it online. And I will tell you that used to overwhelmingly be the case, that you could always get better prices through the sales reps. These days, they handcuff the sales reps quite a bit. And so sometimes you can get better prices through the sales reps, but sometimes the site is better. I will say I've never heard of any case where you can't get at least the best price through a sales rep. So always safe to call, especially if you're going to make a big purchase. What's up, Flameheart? Good to see you. Bruticus, welcome, welcome. Kramaswamy, good to see you. Man, happy to have you all here. Welcome. All right, let's make sure I'm not missing anything. Praxis, hello, welcome, welcome. Personally, I wouldn't. Hey, Pastor. Yes, hello, Praxis. And yeah, that's a good point. Praxis talking about me bringing my son onto the stream. So I appreciate that. Masterwood, Crossway is selling all ebooks for $2.99. My wallet. I didn't see that one. Did that one just come out today? Masterwood? Is it like a New Year's sale? Oh boy. $2.99 ebooks from Crossway? Man, that's pretty hot fire. Pink says, I'm not sure either, but I do appreciate seeing the kiddos. Yeah, I feel that. Kramaswamy has a similar question. Is it okay to listen to R. Kelly or Blueface as a Christian? I'm not familiar with those artists. I suspect they're more in, like, you're talking about the hip-hop rap genre. And again, I kind of gave all my reasoning on all that type of stuff. Cal Magic, I never put my children on stage. However, being called into the principal's office because my daughter is cutting her dolls in half or stabbing them is disturbing. That's awesome, Cal Magic. That's a different kind of situation, right? What's up, Angie? Good to see you. Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Any of you guys have New Year's resolutions you'd like to share with everybody? I have some reading. I wouldn't say resolutions, but maybe more like goals. Do I listen to drill rap? No, I do not. Cal Magic, I had a girlfriend in college who led me to the Lord after we watched The Exorcist. Wow, that's incredible, Cal Magic. There you go. Yeah, so that can be a powerful witnessing opportunity. Bruticus, they do have good deals online. That's right. Sometimes you can get the best deal online, but calling a sales rep will always ensure you get the best deal. Crossway sales January 1st to 5th. Just need a Crossway Plus account, which is free. Ah, I see. Very cool. That's awesome. Nice. All right, good stuff, everyone. Looks like I've caught up. Matthew says, hey, Pastor Channer, I'm currently a part-time youth director. I'm responsible for teaching on Sunday at youth. Been struggling with public speaking and writing the sermon. This is my first ministry job. Any guidance? Oh, wow. These are good questions. What do you have in the way of resources for preparation? Do you feel like you struggle more on the research side or more on the presentation side? Because those are different things. Sometimes when I'm critiquing people's preaching, for example, my concerns are mostly delivery-oriented, whereas other times they're mostly content-oriented. So where do you think you struggle more? Both or one or the other? All right, I'm wondering if this song's pushing the line for me. I'll skip. It looks like it's going to get big. Oh, this one already is big. Skip again. Double skip. Okay, this one's nice. All right, we're going to head back over to Logos. Still answering questions, y'all. Still answering questions. Appreciate the interaction. Happy New Year. Fun. All righty. Well, let's see. I was in I just finished 43. The scene hides as much as it reveals. We are told that Jesus desired to go to Galilee, yet no reason is given. Nor is any explanation provided regarding the place where Jesus met Philip or whether Jesus had any previous knowledge of Philip. But one thing is clear. Jesus is inviting Philip to become his disciple. Jesus has gone from mere generic questions to specific and focused command. Philip was now a follower of Jesus Christ. I am enjoying ZECNT here. Edward Klink. Nice resource. Gonna drop this here. Boom. Boom. Matthew says both. I have Logos and a curriculum.
I don't know why you're clapping. I'm talking.
Hey, thanks for that follow. Appreciate you. Now, if you have Logos and a curriculum, you shouldn't struggle too much on the preparation side, I would think. What sorts of lessons are you teaching? Are you teaching Bible studies? Are you doing like topical studies? And how long are you typically teaching? Is it a preaching situation where you get up and you're expected to talk the whole time without interruption? Or is it more of like an open format Bible study situation? Okay. Verse 44. Let's read it. Now Philip was from Bethsaida, the city of Andrew and Peter. Like verse 40, where the narrator provides information regarding Andrew, here Philip is introduced to the reader. The name of the city of Philip's origin, Bethsaida, literally means fisher's home. Bethsaida was on the northeast shore of Lake Gennesaret in the territory of Herod, Philip the Tetrarch. The mystery around the connection between Philip and Jesus is partially alleviated in verse 44, since Philip is from the same city as Andrew and Peter, and Andrew was a disciple of John the Baptist. It is possible that they were already socially connected. even if the nature of their connection cannot be delineated. Verse 44 suggests a connection between them. Interesting. Okay. Don't know if that'll make it into the sermon. Philip is mentioned in all lists of the 12 apostles, always in 5th place after Simon, Andrew, James, and John. That's a fun fact. Guys, never underestimate fun facts from the pulpit. Evangelicals love fun facts. Okay. Will this improve your spiritual walk at all? No way. Philip is mentioned in all lists of the 12 apostles, always in 5th place after Simon, Andrew, James, and John. None whatsoever. Zero return on investment. But, fun fact, woo, congregation going to eat it up. They're going to be like, oh, really? I didn't know that, right? I didn't either. I just read it in a commentary. And it costs you nothing. It's free to drop that in the sermon. And yeah, people love that. Fun facts are a fun fact. Is that a fun fact? Got it. Ping's on it. He knows what's up. He knows what's up. What's up, Jack Murr? What is up? Welcome, welcome. Happy New Year. Yes, much love to you. How are you doing, Jack Murr? I hope you're doing well. Matthew says, on stage, that is topical and a 4-week series at a time. Okay, which curriculum are you using? How many hours do you spend on your sermon prep? It's gone down radically in the years. I'll talk to this as well, Matthew. So, I've got a long story on length of sermon prep. So, I went to the Shepherd's Conference before I was a pastor and even before I entered seminary. So I'm talking like 13 years ago or something. And I went to the Shepherd's Conference and I really enjoyed it. Steve Lawson, John MacArthur, kind of that standard evangelical crew, Al Mohler, all those guys working together on stuff. And they did a Q&A after one of MacArthur's presentations. And he was asked this question: how long do you spend on sermon prep, right? And he was like, whenever I prepare a sermon, I sit down and I read every commentary I have available on my passage. I never want to miss anything. I never want to leave anything on the table. I want to be able to give my people the best that's out there, the best available. And so he's like very convinced, like, you got to read everything, okay? And so John MacArthur, he says, you sit your butt down in that chair and you don't get up until you're done, right? Like that was MacArthur's approach. And it was like, man, all right. So MacArthur is telling me to, spend 60 plus hours in sermon prep a week. And then I'll tell you this. I then went to a preaching conference that was being led by Steve Lawson in Denver. And I asked him the same question. How long do you spend on sermon prep in a Q&A? And he said, my whole life. And what he meant was, you are developing your skills in sermon preparation over the years, and you should be getting better at it. That's actually really good advice. It's a really good point, because it can be easy to throw out like a rule of thumb, like, oh, you should be spending at least 20 hours a week in sermon prep or 30 hours a week in sermon prep, and then it not be true, right? Like, for many preachers, and it depends on a variety of factors. I will tell you, depending on the passage I'm in and how well I know it and how difficult it is, sometimes the sermon just comes to me and I'm like, oh man, this is easy. This is right in itself, right? And then there are other times it takes me hours and hours and hours of grinding over the passage to finally get something of use out of it, right? And it just depends. It depends on my background, my understanding, depends on the Holy Spirit, depends on the text, all that type of stuff, okay? So Steve Lawson would not reveal how much time he spends. I think he ended up dropping something like 10 to 15 hours. But that was after he had told me his whole life, right? Because you'd grow and develop your skills over time, okay? Corey, what is up? Good to see you. I'll answer your question here in a second. And then, this was an interesting one. One of my last classes I took in seminary, it was on practical theology. And I love that professor. He had decades as a pastor in the ministry, and then he was a professor trying to help young, up-and-coming pastors prepare themselves for ministry. Asked the same question in class. How many hours a week do you spend on sermon prep? Want to guess his answer? He said, as little as possible. You had to pick my jaw up off the floor, because being exposed to Steve Lawson and John MacArthur, etc., as little as possible? Here was his reasoning. He said, look, all of your training in seminary, all of your studies is vastly more research into the Bible than 99 congregants out of 100 has. You are already walking up there as an expert on the subject, even if you don't feel like it. And he said, so do your due diligence, do your hard work to make sure that what you are putting out there is good and covers the bases. But if you're going to be digging in depth into all of these commentaries and all this information throughout the week, you are going to be going way over your congregation's head. And so he said as little as possible. Okay. So I just wanted to give you the broad range there, Matthew. And now I'll tell you for me. When I first started, I have always prepped sermons faster than most. Okay. I will tell you that. Relative to my peers, when I talk to them about how long it takes, all that type of stuff, my sermon prep time is much faster than most. And so I wouldn't take me as a good baseline. But I have noticed that the sermon feels like it. When I first started, the sermon had felt like it was coming together well before 20 hours. I could probably do, when I first started, I was probably doing about 10 to 12 hours of sermon prep a week. And it felt like a fully formed sermon was coming together, and I was getting there. These days, I take about 6 hours to prep a sermon. And, you know, some may think that's inadequate or insufficient or whatever, but these days it only takes me about 6 hours or so to prep a sermon. Again, plus or minus. If it's a text I'm not familiar with, I don't know anything about, etc., it might take longer. There have been times where it's even shorter than that, where, I'm just reading the text, and it's like the sermon itself just kind of coalesces for me, and boom, I've just got it in front of me, and I'm ready to go. I will say this. I had a visitor ask me how long I spend in sermon prep, and I told them kind of sheepishly, about 6 hours. And they were like, oh, praise God that you take the word so seriously that you spend 6 whole hours in sermon prep. And I was like, you think that's good? Right? Like, I was expecting people to be critical about my 6 hours of sermon prep. But he thought it was a lot, and he came from a more foreign context on the mission field where people were not spending hardly any time at all in sermon prep. And so there you go. That's for me. Don't know if that's helpful, Matthew, but it's a great question. Great question. All right, Corey, thank you for your patience. Corey says, first time connecting with you. Is Logos Essential subscription worth the price? It used to be Logos now. Corey, great question. I literally canceled my Logos Essentials today. Today I canceled it. And here's what I would say, Corey. If you get good, I think the most value in Logos Essentials comes out of the mobile ed courses. If you use the mobile ed course coupons really well, totally worth it, okay? Because you get the ebooks and you get the mobile ed. For me, I wasn't utilizing the mobile ed like I wanted to. And then the ebooks, I was finding, I was kind of getting to, I've got most of the titles that are for the 3 free ebooks. And so I was kind of getting to titles where I was like, oh, I guess I'll throw these in there, ones that I would never focus so much on reading, right? And so for me, I canceled Essentials, but if you're using the mobile eds, you use those coupons regularly, whether you get 1 a year or 2 a year or 4 a year. If you're using those and you're getting a lot out of the mobile ed courses, totally worth it. But to me, that's like the inflection point on that subscription. It all has to do with your mobile ed usage. So, yeah, great question. Matthew says, thank you, very helpful. Prayers, please. Didn't ever see myself in ministry position, but trying to be obedient. That's awesome, Matthew. Please feel free to keep asking questions. And tell me which curriculum you're using. Or if you know of a comparable curriculum might have in Logos, and I can kind of walk you through how I would put together a lesson for that. Yeah, great questions. Great questions. All right, let's see. Bearded Beowulf, what is up? Good to see you. Cal Magic, have you read The Blue Parakeet or Emotionally Healthy Discipleship? Short, interesting reads. I have not. I remember when The Blue Parakeet came out that some people were critical of the author, and that's all I heard of it. I haven't returned to it at all. Ping, are you even qualified to be a pastor if your daily private time is less than 36 hours a day? Probably not. Probably not. Hagiophilo, what is up? This is me, Jockmer, here now. Good to see you, Jockmer. Welcome. Thanks for swinging by. Appreciate you coming by Twitch. Happy New Year to you, Yoshi. Fantastic. Flame, yes. Is that a pineapple on pizza emote? That's awesome. Flameheart, I preached about that like a week or two ago. It caused outrage in the congregation. People were arguing in the foyer over whether or not pineapple is a legitimate pizza option, right? I'm not kidding. This happened in church. Okay, I thought this was only a Twitch argument. Not the case. That 1 out of 100 congregate could have been your professor. Yes, exactly right. Oh, man. Yoshi says, someone else, let's just wing the sermon. That's right. Beowulf, hello, friend. Glad to be here doing some networking and checking out fellow believers. Well, thanks for swinging by, Beowulf. If you're looking for networking, I'm not as good at that. I used to have a better understanding of the Twitch Christian scene. I've been streaming like 3 years now or something like that, 3 or 4 years now. And Bearded Beowulf, I just let you know, I don't even know who streams anymore. I don't raid people, right? I kind of just sit over here on Twitch and do my own thing. So, yeah, happy to know you. Happy to have you here, Bearded Beowulf. But I'm like the least connected guy in terms of networking. So I just want you to know that. But I appreciate you. Thanks for swinging by. You're more than welcome. Happy to have you. Happy to have you. Tanner's be causing division over here. I'm not trying to. The Grow curriculum. Okay, I got you. That's what you wrote. Grow curriculum. Let's take a look and see if I have anything similar. So we're talking about how to put together a lesson for, you said you're doing like youth ministry, right? So let's see. It looks like I don't have the Grow curriculum. Here's what I'm going to do. I don't want to dox myself. I'm always nervous of just bringing up the internet while I'm streaming. Let's go here. Here. Grow curriculum. Everything you need. Stuff you can use. growcurriculum.org. Grow for kids. Grow for students. I've never used curriculum. I'm not criticizing it. It can make your job way easier. Grow. I want to see if there's like a Grow. I'm guessing you're doing the Grow Students curriculum. Learn more. Yep. Okay, let's see here. Students Ministry Curriculum and Strategy. Grow Students. Kenny and L. Campbell. There's Try It Free. Style guides, strategy guides, etc. 1-minute sermons included with every lesson, monthly tip, videos. Cool, strategy guide. This seems like a decent, just from what I'm seeing, it seems like they've got their act together. That's for sure. Okay, here you go. 50 weeks of lessons, weekly 1-minute sermon videos. Okay, spiritual habits activity. This looks good. So what I would do, if I were you, I would not slavishly adhere to this curriculum, okay? What I would do, it's a subscription-based service, yes, the students. Now, what I would do with curriculum, here's what I do. I use curriculum as a jumping-off point. So let me just, let me grab, I have like these weekly, 13 weeks in James or whatever, right? Things like that. So let's find something like that. Probably in the title. And 52 weeks through the Bible. No, that's a book. No. We're looking at something that is, again, curriculum. Here you go. Perfect. This is the sort of thing that you often get. Reading the Bible, John Stott. Reading Galatians with John Stott. 9 weeks for individuals or groups. John Stott, Dale Sandy Larson. Okay. So you go down to your curriculum here, and if you're going to utilize curriculum, use it to help you, right? So don't even ask questions like, what pericope am I going to select? They take it for you. Galatians 1, 1 to 12. Okay. So what I would do is read this on my own. All right. The Galatians passage, and whatever thoughts jump out at me, I would write down. If you're doing a student study, lots of questions. You want to make this as interactive as possible. Okay. I often think of, let me think of how I could present this. Yeah, here, let me do a Canvas document, and I'll talk through kind of how I think about content delivery. Okay. So you've got your curriculum. Okay, we're going to do Galatians 1 to 12 study. Okay, that's our study. Now, there are 3 things you can talk about when you're going to be teaching any sort of topic. The first thing you can talk about is the content itself, right? We'll call this explanation. So this is usually more adult-oriented, Sunday school-oriented, that type of thing, where people want, like I talked earlier about the fun facts, people want like the details. Oh, this is blowing out my face. Let me change this real quick. Just want to change the fill. Boom. Look at this. Boom. Oh, I was going to say much better. Not much better. We want the background one to be this. Boom. Much better. Much better. Okay. Here we are. We're back. So explanation is all about the information in the text itself. Explanation. Okay. And this is typically a little more Sunday school curriculum, that type of thing, where you're teaching adults. The second thing is illustration. Think of this as storytelling, okay? And then finally, application. This is what to do with your life. Now, here's the reason I'm bringing this up. A lot of people, without really thinking about it, will tend to do one of these 3 things more than the others in their teaching. Okay, so they'll put together their lesson. We've got Galatians 1 to 12, and you might have somebody who's reading through it, and they're loving to just explain it. Ooh, this is the Greek word over here that Paul's using. Here's what it means over here, and they're just trying to give you tons of information. I call it like a data dump about the text. Okay, in some contexts that can be good, but I will tell you, my impression is that typically in youth contexts, you don't want to spend as much time on this piece, okay? The explanation piece, all right? It's good to have some, but I wouldn't spend the majority of your time there, all right? So let's say you have 10 minutes to talk. I wouldn't spend, 5 to 7 minutes on explanation. To me, that's too many, all right? Instead, you want to spend 2 to 3 minutes on explanation, and then you want to spend a lot more time on illustration and application, because especially for students, they're looking at, what does this mean for my life? How can I apply it to my life, etc. Illustration is storytelling, okay? And, this often gets a bad rap, but it can be helpful for people to hear stories that are relatable to their context, to their lives, okay? So let's actually just look at Galatians 1 to 12 right here. So we'll insert passage, reference, Galatians 1 to 12. Insert. Add to canvas. Okay. Boom. Paul, an apostle, not from men nor through man, but through Jesus Christ and God the Father who raised him from the dead, and all the brothers who are with me, to the churches of Galatia. Grace to you and peace from God our Father and the Lord Jesus Christ, who gave himself for our sins to deliver us from the present evil age, according to the will of our God and Father, to whom be glory forever and ever. Amen. I am astonished that you are so quickly deserting him who called you in the grace of Christ and are turning to a different gospel. Not that there's another one, but there are some who trouble you and want to distort the gospel of Christ. But even if we or an angel from heaven should preach to you a gospel contrary to the one we preach to you, let him be accursed. As we have said before, so now I say again, if anyone is preaching to you a contrary gospel to the one you have received, let him be accursed. For am I now seeking the approval of man or of God? Or am I trying to please man? If I were still trying to please man, I would not be a servant of Christ. For I would have you know, brothers, that the gospel was preached by me is not man's gospel. For I did not receive it from any man, nor was I taught it, but I received it through a revelation of Jesus Christ. So there's a couple things that jump out at me here, but a lot of it is this verse 6 through 10. And you can even just take this, no other gospel, that is in the ESV right there as the heading. To me, that's kind of the main idea of the passage. Okay, and so if I were teaching students, I would tell stories. Illustration, I would tell stories of people who had abandoned the faith and gave up. you might open with that, right? Hey, I had a friend, we grew up in high school together. We love going to Bible study together, etc. But we got to college and he left the faith. He stopped going. He started living for, like the world, etc. And, that broke my heart, right? And what you're doing is giving people a real world example, because these students, they might find themselves in college in 2 to 3 years. And now you've instilled in them this perspective that you don't want them to turn away, right? Because you have told a story, you've used an illustration about abandoning the faith. And then, of course, application. Application is very practical. It's what do you do, okay? So if I were teaching Galatians 1 to 12 in 10 minutes to high school students, right, I would spend 2 to 3 minutes just talking about the text, reading through the text, and just talking about the text itself. That's not very much time, right? You're going to have to make maybe one key point, all right? Maybe this idea, even if we are an angel from heaven should preach to you a gospel contrary. And you might talk about this. Like, a lot of people have a religious experience or spiritual experience, and they hang their entire, salvation on that religious or spiritual experience. But notice that Paul here is saying that you could have a religious or spiritual experience. You could even meet an angel, but he might not be telling you the truth. And so the simple message I'd be giving is, look, guys, not all spiritual experiences are good. The Bible teaches there are bad spirits out there too, right? And so, boom, I've done my explanation, all right? Now, illustration. I want to share a story. I had a friend in college, and, we grew up together, blah, 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 and in college he abandoned the faith, and it broke my heart. And now you spend 3-4 minutes on telling this story, right? And then finally, the application. So how can you ensure that this is not you? Well, here are a couple key tips. First of all, spiritual disciplines, right? You need to be engaging in the spiritual disciplines regularly. That's prayer and Bible reading. I don't want you to set some sort of goal for yourself that you have to read the Bible every single day and then beat yourself up when you fail. But the fact of the matter is, if you're not in prayer regularly, you're not in the Bible regularly, you're not going to be strong in your faith. And so you're going to be more easily bamboozled by this angel from heaven who preaches to you a contrary gospel. 2, right? And then you start talking about it. 2, find yourself a local church, wherever you end up in, blah, blah, blah. And boom, now you've got your message, right? Now you've got your message. So I hope that helps, Matthew, but that's how I would do it. And let's go back over here to Logos. This kind of curriculum for me, these are just jumping off points, okay? So I've got this idea about explanation, illustration, application in the back of my head. And now, as I'm reading through this, John Stott himself might tell a story. Boom, he's got my illustration, right? He already gave it to me. Okay, cool. It looks to me like Stott is focused more on explanation. So I would just maybe grab a couple of his key ideas where he talks about explanation. In your curriculum, you can grab some key ideas talking about explanation. But the bottom line is, you just use these as jumping off points. And then one of the cool things that curriculum often has is questions at the end. This is perfect for getting into application, right? Here's the discussion guide. Open. Here's a question. More questions, more questions, more questions, more questions. And you can use these questions yourself. Pose them to people, get them active and engaged. We have a type of class at our church we call our hands ministry classes, and they're all about practical living, virtuous living. And in those classes, I am often throwing questions out at the audience and getting them to interact with me. It's more about drawing out of them the wisdom to apply the text to our lives, okay? But that's when you're doing teaching that is more illustration heavy, application heavy, a little bit lighter on explanation. With Stott's material here, I could teach 20 minutes pure explanation, right? No problem. But context dependent. And in youth ministry, I'm looking more at illustration and application. Hope that's helpful. Great questions, Matthew. I'm trying to set you up for success. And let me know if you need more detail at some point, or, if you get a few weeks into this thing, you have more questions, just let me know. Let me know. Corey says, thanks. I never really took advantage of mobile ed. I was just doing it for early access to features, but they changed the game. Thanks for your help. Yes, agreed, Corey. I was on the Logos Now as well, and the Essentials, and like I said, I just canceled today. So, hey, it is what it is. It is what it is. What is up, Dustin? Holy smokes. Holy smokes. Okay, what do we got going on? Beowulf says, I've started an online ministry just hanging out with fellow believers. That's great, Beowulf. Awesome. Good to see you. Cal Magic, God separated pineapples and pizza by a continent and an ocean or two. Enough said. Exactly. If God's word does not tell you that pineapple and pizza don't belong together. Even the construction of the world, even the basics of reality should tell you those don't belong together. Exactly right. Ping, Tanner is old to the community, but not an OG. He's not wrong. Yoshi, what does your pastor think about it so far, Bearded Bearwolf? Oh, the online ministry. Yeah, good question. Matthew, that helps out a lot. Thank you so much. My pleasure. My pleasure. Great question, Matthew. Let me know. I want to keep helping you if you have more questions. Dustin, wow, one of the only 10 resources in Logos that PT doesn't own. Ooh, shots fired, Dustin. Ping was talking to his pastor. I'll come over here. Ping was talking to his pastor about how ridiculous my Logos library is. And Ping told me his pastor didn't seem that surprised. And then Ping was worried for his pastor. That's hilarious. Oh, man. Very cool. Early stages, said Beowulf. I've been saying it for years. I think online ministry is a new frontier. We've got to be leveraging it. We've got to be tapping into it. Not exactly sure how to do it. I will say Twitch chat is better than any other chat, so it's a good place to start. I'll tell you that much. But yeah, pretty cool. Best of luck in your endeavors, Beowulf. Whatever we can do to reach the internet for Christ, I think will be valuable. Ping, Tanner Dustin told me to ask you about what I was looking for Bible-wise. Oh, yes. So, let me see. Let me bring up Discord. Cal Magic, I also use the NIV application commentary to get ideas about applying the text. Very valuable if you're going to be doing illustration and application. That one helps a lot. Okay. What were we... Gotta find my DMs. Man, I'm so bad. I'm so old. Okay, here we go. Zondervan, a Reader's Greek and Hebrew Bible. Okay. Oh. So, Dustin, that's what I utilize. It's not cheap, but that's what I utilize if I'm going to read original languages in print, right? It's a reader's one, so I think it's any word that's used less than 10 times is defined in the notes at the bottom, and then it's half Hebrew, half Greek, depending Old Testament to New Testament, right? So pretty valuable. Tinker Teen, what is up? Happy New Year to you. Man, everybody coming out tonight. Good to see you. Welcome, welcome. Yoshi, phone is hot. Maybe time to sleep. Ooh, don't burn your fingers, Yoshi. Yeah, so that's the one I use, Dustin. I think it's valuable. But, you know, I also utilize what's it called? I think they're called like annotated lexicons. Not annotated, analytical. I also utilize an analytical lexicon along with it because all the ones that are used more than 10 times, I don't know them all. I'm not smart. Okay? So, yeah, I find that one valuable. Ping, the Christian community here on Twitch is actually one of the few places I think is doing online ministry well, though the whole fellowship through gaming bit helps. Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. That's pretty cool. Awesome, thank you. Oh, sounds like a helpful resource. Yes, it absolutely can be. NET Full Notes Bible are really good. I love the NET notes. You'll find notes in there that you don't get anywhere else. Let's just look at our passage, for example. Study Bible. And let's do NET. Did you get the 2.0 notes or the 1.0 notes? Because I think they just came out with second edition. Yeah, here's first edition. And I don't know where second edition is. These notes are so good, though. No doubt those notes are just fantastic. Yeah, I'm not seeing my second edition as a hit, even. Which is fine by me. Love the first edition notes. So... like, these notes, man. And you can see I got them clumped right here with the Gospel Transformation Study Bible. Let's just turn that off. These notes are so good. So, we were talking earlier here in the channel about the use of he in verse 43? Is it talking about Jesus or is it talking about Philip? Who's the referent? Well, you can see right here in the NET notes. He, the referent Jesus, has been specified in the translation for clarity. Jesus is best taken as the subject of heuriske, since Peter would scarcely have wanted to go to Galilee. So boom. They have an explanation for the translation they chose and why they chose it. So that whole long discussion that we read in the ZECNT, boom, you've got a 2-sentence explanation right here in the NET Study Bible Notes. Really good. It looks like an absolute brick. a lot of Bible resources are bricks. No doubt about it. Did I show you guys this brick that I got? No, I won't. Yes, I will. Maybe I should put a poll. No, we're good. We're good. What time is it? 6:30. We're going to keep going for a little bit. Keep going for a little bit here. Okay, let's close the canvas we had open. And let's get back here into ZECNT. I liked where we were going with that. And I think we were on verse like 46 or something. Oh, I talked about him always being mentioned in 5th place. Yeah, good. Philip and Nathanael said to him, "We have found the one about whom Moses wrote in the law and the prophets, Jesus, the son of Joseph from Nazareth." Just as Andrew is important, especially as a link to Peter, so also Philip is important as a link to Nathanael. Wish Logos had a way to download digital versions of physical resources you own. Would be nice to have everything in my digital library. Oh, that'd be amazing. That'd be amazing, Dustin. Do you know about the print library feature? You might want to know about that, Dustin, if you don't know about the print library feature. It's not a full download, but you can make your print library searchable at least. And then it'll tell you which chapter and verse to go look up. Let me know if you don't know about that, Dustin. I'll show you. Cal Magic, I have a rubber brick I toss into the audience to select a volunteer, but only after I use a brick for a routine or two and then secretly switch it with a rubber one. That is hilarious, Cal Magic. Oh, man, I'd be the guy like scrambling to get away from the brick. Masterwood Print Library is one of the main reasons I upgraded to gold. It's not quite as good as having it digitally and print, but it's almost as good, which is, I mean, there's something to be said for almost as good. I'll tell you that much. Yeah, it's a good feature, Masterwood. Good feature. All right. The story of this connection brings the scene to a conclusion and in a very real way serves as the climax of the entire pericope. When Philip speaks, he does so in the first person plural. We have found, which reflects that he identifies himself with the growing group of disciples around Jesus. Other than his presence among the fishermen in 21:2, this is the only occurrence of Nathanael in the gospel. Since Nathanael means God has given, many have posited that this scene is allegorical and that an ideal disciple is meant. There is, however, no need for such a conclusion. My pastor got gifted a cinder block of a lexicon around 1,500 pages. What a gift. Dustin, oh wow, that's super handy. I've never heard of that. Let me show you, Dustin. It's a very valuable tool. So if you look at this feature here, it's right to the right of library. So if you bring your library up and you click add to library right here, what it's going to do is this is all of the books in Logos's, how do I put it? Logos's, I don't know, all of the resources they have available. So then you look up your book, okay? And then you click this little button, add to print library. All right. So I don't know. What's a book that I have in print that I don't have in Logos? It used to be the Big Book of Preaching or Book of Big Ideas or whatever. But I do think I have it in Logos now. right here. The Big Idea Companion for Preaching and Teaching. Notice right here it says remove from print library because I added it to my print library at one point because I do have it in my print library, okay? And so when you add something to print library, you are telling Logos, I own this resource in print. Now what you do is when you do your search, if you search all, it should bring up a section that is your print library, okay? Fact book. And I might not have it here under all. Popular quotes, etc. There's obviously a million hits, but it should bring up references to your print library. And then when you click it, it should tell you what page it's on so that you can then go to that page in your print book. That's about as close as you can get to integrating your print library with your Logos library. So there you go, Dustin. There you go. All right, Ping, we'll catch you later. Take it easy. Grace be unto you and peace from God our Father and from the Lord Jesus Christ. Amen. There's also an ISBN scanner in the Logos mobile app. That's correct. So if you take your phone and you pull out the book and you scan it, it'll populate it within the Logos app, and then you can just tell it, add to library. So, like, let's say you don't want to come type in every book manually. This is a really good point, Masterwood. You go to your shelves, and you're going to have to make a project of it, but you pull a book off your shelf as long as you have your Logos app. You scan the ISBN. If Logos has it in there, then you can just hit add to print library right there. Houston, that's so cool. I feel like I'm always learning new things about Logos. Yeah. It's a powerful program, right? And not all of the features are very self-evident or self-explanatory, right? Masterwood, you do need a gold package or above, right? So if that's a feature you really want, Dustin, you've got to get Logos 10 gold, but it's not only gold. That's if you want a base package. You can also get, I think, the full feature set has that one, which is cheaper than a gold base package. So one or the other, I think we'll get it. They just came out with that one in Logos 10, though. So it's only been out, what has it been, guys? A year? Man, that was good tea. Okay, good. We're cranking along. Let's see here now. Yeah, we're good. Cool. All right, jumping in now. And I would just want to finish our ZCNT research here because I'm really enjoying this commentary. So I like this point about this section maybe being the climax of the passage or the pericope. Suggestions that Nathanael is really Matthew or Bartholomew lack any credible evidence. When John wants to detect symbolic significance in such names, he provides a translation. It also neglects that Jesus has many followers outside the 12. In this sense, if Nathanael represents anything, he does not represent a future apostle, but rather the average follower of Jesus. That's good to know because I thought it was a different name for one of the existing apostles. October 22, Logos 10 came out. October 24, maybe Logos 11 if they maintain their schedule. That's right. We should see Logos 11 this year. I think the last 2 cycles they've done on 2-year cycles. So you're correct, Cal Magic. We should see Logos 11 this October if they maintain their current cycle because they've been going 2-year cycles for the last 4 years, I believe. So, woo! It's going to be good. Start saving up now, y'all. Start saving up now so you can get your Logos 11 in October. Who knows if they'll actually do it, but that's the cycle they've been on. All right, continuing here. While Andrew declared to his brother Peter in verse 41, "We have found the Messiah," Philip declares to Nathanael that we have found the one about whom Moses wrote in the law and the prophets. Andrew spoke of the Messiah, but Philip speaks of the object of the writings of the Moses and the prophets. Although both the law... Yeah, I noticed that difference, actually. These are implied, equated in the text, but it's not explicitly there. Although both the law and the prophets spoke about the one within their own corpus, the terms together serve as an inclusive reference to the entire Old Testament. This is, of course, the position held by the gospel. Jesus fulfills the Old Testament scriptures. There are several likely candidates in mind in the law and the prophets. What a great commentary. If I have a problem with research, guys, it's so much to read and so little time. Woo! Nathanael said to him, "What good thing is able to come from Nazareth?" The narrative now turns its attention to the final member of the first disciples. Nathanael responds to Philip's exclamative statement with a skeptical question concerning Nazareth. Certainly not a famous city. There is no evidence that it was ever mentioned before the New Testament. The question suggests that Nathanael cannot conceive of the one coming from such an insignificant place like Nazareth. Nathanael would not be the last to speak derogatorily of Jesus' place of origin. For years later, Christians would be belittled as being described as the Nazarene sect. Ultimately, Nathanael's skepticism arises out of a stubborn provincialism in reverse that refuses to see anything greater glorious in that which is familiar or close to home. Nazareth is offensive in the same way that the reader was shocked to be told that the Word became flesh. Philip's response echoes Jesus' answer in verse 39. Clearly, Philip, with a short-sighted and limited estimation of Jesus' person, did not understand the fullness of what he invited Nathanael to come and see. Yet its repetition in the narrative forms a contrast between each occurrence so that in both situations, with full or partial understanding, Jesus is deemed worthy of attention. I talked about this on Sunday, actually. One of the things that I pointed out is the come and see protocol. You don't always know what you're going to see, right? In this sense, I think for many people, first beginning their journey in Christianity, for them, they are intrigued by Jesus. They don't know all of who Jesus is. They may not even be entirely convinced of Jesus, but they are intrigued by Jesus. And often for many people, that's good enough as a first step. Do not despise small beginnings. Being intrigued by Jesus is very, very valuable in evangelism. Nathanael, not fully deterred by his skepticism, responds to Philip's invitation and headed toward Jesus. What Jesus saw, a den, when Nathanael was coming toward him, was more than just another inquiring follower interested in him. He saw a seeker of God. Philip invited Nathanael to come and see, but it was Nathanael himself that was the object in view. Jesus gives a public declaration regarding Nathanael, denoted as "Behold, Ide," and describes him as a true Israelite. Alethos Israelites. The term Israelite occurs 9 times in the New Testament, 5 in Acts as a formal address to assembled Jews, 3 times in Paul when he is emphasizing his racial and religious credentials, and here in John. When prefaced by the attributive adverb true, it affirms this devotion of Nathanael to the God of Israel. Nathanael, the true Israelite, is described further as one in whom there is no deceit. The use of the term deceit parallels and expands true. Nathanael is a true Israelite without pretense. Well, you can kind of see why some of the commentators would say he's the ideal disciple, right? I know that our present author was very hesitant to allegorize anything in the text, but I don't see any problem with both ending this one. And, you know, this no-name true Israelite is one with whom God is pleased. Nathanael is wondering by what means Jesus had come to know him. Jesus responds with a cryptic saying that, though apparently satisfactory to Nathanael, has often confused interpreters. Oh, just the "I saw you while you were under the fig tree" thing? I'm not sure how that's confusing. Let's see what he has to say. Jesus simply states that even before Philip had made things known, Nathanael had been seen by Jesus specifically under a fig tree. I think what Jesus is doing here is he's revealing his, supernatural powers, essentially, right? That's how I interpret it. There is no further explanation, no other referent to the incident. The fig tree often served as a symbol of home. In later times, its shade was used as a place for prayer, meditation, and study. If you read Strack and Billerbeck, he talks explicitly about the Talmud usages where it is very common for rabbis to be seen studying or reading or contemplating under a fig tree, right? As a traditional Jewish idiom, the fig tree could also signify rest as opposed to labor or tranquility as opposed to trouble. The detail, however, does not appear to have its own symbolic significance other than to highlight the specificity with which Jesus saw Nathanael. See, that's how I expected he would interpret it. I mean, he does not like to allegorize or symbolize it all. But I don't even see a need to. I think the most natural reading here is, again, just a revelation of Jesus' supernatural powers. Nathanael's response in verse 49 implies not only that Jesus knew Nathanael's physical location, but also his spiritual location, the nature of his heart. This is not the only time the gospel will portray the supernatural awareness and insight of Jesus. Let's see. Make sure I'm not missing anything. Okay, we're doing good. Nathanael answered him, Rabbi, you are the Son of God. You are King of Israel. Although the exact insight of Jesus is enigmatic to the reader, Nathanael is entirely convinced regarding the identity of Jesus. He answers Jesus' insight with a messianic confession of faith, in sharp contrast with his earlier resistance. The impression made upon Nathanael is revealed by his use of 3 titles. First, Nathanael addresses Jesus with the honorific rabbi, which accords the highest individual status as a teacher. Second, Nathanael declares regarding his teacher, you are the Son of God. Rabbi, Son of God. What's the last one? One might assume this is too strong. Much more better. One might assume that Nathanael bestows a title on Jesus that is part of the expectation of Second Temple Judaism, or more importantly, of the Old Testament. In a general way, the Old Testament did expect and predict a Son of God, and the title is undoubtedly messianic. From the perspective of Judaism, however, the connection is not quite so obvious. According to McHugh, there is no clear evidence that in Palestinian Judaism the title Son of God was ever applied to the Messiah, even in metaphorical sense during pre-Christian times. If you read some of the Dead Sea Scrolls literature, you can actually see that even they were anticipating several different messianic-esque figures, right? So you can see that in the Old Testament and in, Second Temple Judaism literature. You can find all over the place several messianic figures being anticipated. And the fact that all of the messianic figures would be culminated in a single person, I think it was a surprise to the vast majority of Jews. And this might be one of the reasons that the Jews rejected Jesus, among many others. And even where the divine sonship of the Davidic Messiah had been clearly declared, these Old Testament texts were intended only to affirm the legitimacy of the claim of the line of David to the throne, not to assert that this was some exceptional ontological relationship between God and the monarch. But John sees no such difficulty. And even if Nathanael's words reflect a certain naivete, which would not be the first time, he was right in what he unknowingly confessed. In fact, as the reader of John will shortly come to see, the link between Jesus and God is not merely a messianic relation, but also a unique relation of intimacy and oneness. I think when I preach this one, I might dig a little bit deeper into the explanation side of things, because I'm enjoying it. And I haven't preached one like that in a while. What's up, Soda? How you doing? Welcome, welcome. How are you? Happy New Year. This relation, Nathanael could not have understood, even though his own words described it perfectly. The messianic predictions, the monarchical promise of the Davidic king, and even the concept of sonship so connected to the nation of Israel, has come to a climactic fulfillment in the person of Jesus. And it is significant that the title has the article, the Son of God. The Son, the promised Messiah, the descendant of David. The true Israel is Jesus. Even a partial suggestion shackled to Judaism's limited expectations roused Nathanael to a confession of faith. Third, Nathanael declares regarding his teacher, "You are king of Israel." Like Son of God, the title King of Israel is not entirely obvious. Apart from texts which refer to Israel's monarch, the term King of Israel appears twice in the Old Testament as a description of Yahweh, King of Israel. Nowhere in the Old Testament is the term used of the predicted Messiah. It is used once only in the Old Testament pseudepigrapha, and I think these are the Psalms of Solomon, yeah, in a text that clearly envisions a military leader to revolt against Rome. The title is also entirely absent from the Qumran literature. Yeah, it's just a phrase you don't hear. Yet it occurs twice in John, here and also in 12:13, alongside the synonymous, though ironic, King of the Jews in chapters 18 and 19. Thus, like the former title, King of Israel is vague regarding its antecedent referent, but quite clear in regard to its subsequent referent. What Nathanael almost certainly saw was political and militaristic king. What he could not see was the actual nature of Jesus' kingdom, which is not of this world. Man, you want fun facts in your Bible study? Look no further than Edward Klink. He's tearing it up. Jesus acknowledges Nathanael's confession of faith, but restitutes it accordingly. Jesus' answer is more of a statement than a question. Nathanael responded to Jesus because of a miracle. Such faith, though real, is inferior to the faith that truly sees. The misunderstanding so pervasive in Nathanael and in all the first disciples is rooted in a sightless reading of the scriptures and signs. The repeated statement, "Come and see," echoes in the mind of the reader. Nathanael has come, but has he truly seen? Jesus' response is not a criticism. Rather, it is a promise. Jesus promises that Nathanael shall see greater things than these. Jesus is not casting doubt on Nathanael's faith, only on the nature of his sight. It might be significant that Nathanael is the first disciple in the gospel who is explicitly said to believe. Several disciples have come. Now it is the time to learn how to see. Entry into the relationship of full discipleship is not only the result, but also the beginning of seeing what is to be seen in Jesus. Jesus now goes on to explain the kind of vision he promises. Jesus prefaces his statement with an introductory confirmation. "Truly, truly, I say to you." The Greek word "truly" is the translation of the Aramaic Hebrew word that means to confirm. It's used to indicate one's consent or assent to words uttered by someone else. The use of the term by Jesus to introduce his own speech is unique. There is no known Jewish use by a person introducing his own statement, for it was always used to affirm the statement of another. Although this is the first time use of the term in John, it is quite common in the Synoptics, but only on the lips of Jesus, and again only to introduce his own statements. In view of the associations of the term, it almost certainly has religious significance. It would be uttered by a person who stands before God, speaking things only God can affirm or bring to pass. The fact that Jesus prefaces his own word statements in this way implies that Jesus identifies himself with the words and with the God to whom he appeals. As Ladd explains, Jesus' usage is without analogy because in his person and words, the kingdom of God manifested its presence and authority. Since Jesus is the Word, his statements are by definition the word of the Lord. For this reason, Jesus can and must preface his statements in a similar manner to those from the God of the Old Testament. "Thus saith the Lord," or "This is what the Lord says." And he's arguing that Jesus is doing this when he says, "Truly, truly." An interesting and unexplainable fact is that while the Synoptics only ever have a single truly, John always has two. Whatever it is to follow must therefore be important. Following the authoritative preface, Jesus now speaks. It is fitting that after all the questions, testimonies, and confessions regarding Jesus' messiahship from others, Jesus for the first time speaks about himself. Jesus' statement breaks all messianic categories and expands the horizon regarding what Jesus' disciples are invited to come and see. Although contextually, the statement is a final response to Nathanael, the statement itself is plural. You plural will see. Thus, this authoritative statement is an address to all the disciples, both in the early ministry of Jesus and in the history of the church. The entire statement echoes Jacob's vision of a ladder or a stairway resting on the earth with its top reaching to heaven. See, it's hard because I want to dig into all these details in the sermon, but there's no denying that the most important verse in the entire pericope is verse 51. Truly, I say to you, you will see heaven open, the angels of God ascending and descending on the Son of Man. He's comparing himself directly to Jacob's ladder. That is pretty important. Jesus' statement, however, is not entirely controlled by the imagery of Jacob's vision, for it makes a necessary and important distinction, even development, regarding the person and work of God and the nature of God's revelation. Jesus declares, you will see heaven open. In John, the verb see is regularly used as a promise that the disciples will be given some spiritual insight. Although John rarely speaks of heaven when it occurs, it is found in passages that speak of rebirth through water and spirit, and of Jesus as the life-giving bread from heaven. The perfect participle, open, leaves the length of the vision undefined, but can hardly mean any one particular vision or a recurrent one. The disciples will see Jesus in all his works in his entire person. Jesus is heaven open. It's a pretty valuable statement there. We saw in the prologue, Jesus is the one who reveals the Father. What is unique about Jesus is not only his sonship, or that he is God or intimate with the Father, but also that he provides for some to see God. Jesus will later declare that the one who sees me has seen the Father. This emphatic statement declares that Jesus is and always was the opening of heaven. The nature of this opening, this vision, is not to be sought entirely behind one statement, but in Jesus' person and work, which the rest of the gospel will explicate. Jesus also declares that they will see the angels of God ascending and descending. The allusion to Jacob's vision in Genesis 28:12 is neither as direct or unmistakable as often assumed. In the new context, there is no stairway or ladder reaching to heaven, no vision of the Lord, no covenant promise, and surprisingly, no Jacob. In the original context, there were no angels ascending and descending on Jacob. He was not the bearer of the heavenly power, but like the disciples here, the one whose eyes were open to that power in the vision granted him. This is not to deny an illusion, but only to make clear the illusion is meant to be radically redefined in its new context and for its new subject. Jacob saw a vision, the disciples saw the Word become flesh. The statement of God is now in the form of a person. Okay. He's the first commentator to be that soft on the Jacob's ladder connection, but I'm okay with it. Thus, it is not insignificant that the angels will be seen ascending and descending upon the Son of Man. The title Son of Man has been notoriously difficult for interpreters to explain. Why? He's just quoting Daniel. Though its background and therefore meaning is difficult to determine, it was clearly Jesus' favorite self-designation. The title echoes its earlier use in Daniel 7:13-14, which describes one who, clothed by God with heavenly glory, is to exercise God's rule on earth. The two visions echoed here from Genesis 28 and Daniel 7 fit uniquely together, with aspects taken from each. The reference to heaven opening is reminiscent of the visions themselves and symbolizes the power and love of God being revealed in Jesus. I find it interesting he's getting very symbolic now. He was pretty hesitant about that earlier. Finally, the Son of Man brings power, glory, and kingdom together in the person of Jesus. The explication of the title Son of Man is not completed, however, for the person of Jesus is intimately connected to his work. Oh, and then there's some interesting application ideas here. Theology and application. First and foundational response of the Christian to the gospel of Jesus Christ is come and see. Ministry of Jesus about his person, which includes his work as Lamb of God. Jesus has moved from the object of John the Baptist's ministry to the subject of the gospel. The identity of Jesus as the gate of heaven, the revelation of God, has become central to his person. Worship and religion are now entirely defined by him. And I'll grab his headings here. I'm not sure I'll go into depth on each of these. But it's good to know these are here. Very impressed with the ZECNT. I would probably be better served if every week I referenced the same commentaries, but I always pick different ones. And I don't know. I like it. I like referencing different commentaries. But who knows? All right, y'all. Woo! We did it. We covered a lot of ground, a lot of territory. Very helpful, I think. Great interaction with you guys. Happy New Year. And our goal is to stream once a week on Mondays in 2024. That's the goal. I know we've been spotty with our YouTube uploading. I do have a goal on my list for more videos on YouTube throughout the month. And ideally, then that will translate to the year. So, you know, we're getting there. It's takes time, effort, energy, you know, and yeah, we're trying to do our best to get as much content out there for you guys as we can. Appreciate you all hanging out with me tonight. Like I said, I was feeling a little under the weather, but not too bad. Glad I streamed. It was a lot of fun hanging out with you guys. Hope you have a great rest of your week and a fantastic start to your 2024. Look forward to seeing you guys next week, Lord willing. Take care. God bless. Bye.